What's up, everyone? My name's Pastor Brandon, and I'm so happy you're joining us today. If it's your first time with us, I certainly hope it's not your last time with us, because here at New Post Church, we lead people to love God, love people, and to make a difference. We do that by creating a church that is for the Fredericksburg region. We support local schools, women's centers, homeless shelters, and food banks to make a difference in our community. Now, let's jump into this week's message. So we're in part 3 of a series right now titled Carols, and this is our Christmas series where we're inspecting and kind of interacting with the Christmas carols so many of us have come to know and love, and many of us can sing them by heart because we've been singing them since we were tiny little kids. But we're taking this time in this series to really understand some of the lyrics behind them, the meaning behind them, why they were written, and how they affect us today. And it's my hope that through this series and through the teachings that we've done through here and things like that, that when we sing these Christmas carols, that they're not just more lyrics and they're not just more things thrown together, but in fact, they're actually part of our worship, and we miss the importance of the words when they just become another fun Christmas tradition. They can't be that. They got to be more than that. That's what is so hopeful. So I would hope, and I really hope, that you've been enjoying this series. I really hope that this has spoken to you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to teach it. Today, in part 3, we're going over a hymn that really started as a hymn, but it could be one of the most famous ones that we're going to cover. And it is Joy to the World. Joy to the World. Joy to the World was written around 1719 by the minister and hymnist Isaac Watts. Isaac Watts. And most of us hear today is actually the 1848 arrangement by the American composer Lowell Mason. Now, you might not realize it, but the original had an entire stanza that we don't sing as part of the song anymore. It was removed because Lowell Mason, the American composer, didn't think it fit with the theme of Psalm 98, which is what some people call the enthronement psalm. This is the psalm that Joy to the World is taken from. Many people think that it's from the shepherds. It's not from the shepherds. It's not from when the angels say that joy has come to the world. That's where the idea for the title came from. But what it actually is it's an enthronement hymn, and it's in this psalm that it comes from, Psalm 98, was actually written talking about the supremacy of God and God over in the entire creation. Now, the Christological viewpoint and interpretation of this comes later, looking back from on the other side of the cross and on the other side of the resurrection, looking back at that psalm and saying, oh, wow, that's so much more true nowadays than it was then, especially because Jesus and Christ has come. And it calls the followers of God to rejoice in the Lord and to be joyous. However, I know that this time of the year is not always joyous for everybody. I know this time of the year is just a reminder that we've lost a loved one, and it's a place when we miss that person. I know that for many of us, it's a reminder that you still have a prodigal that hasn't come home yet, that she's still gone or he's still gone. Maybe this is a reminder of how financially incapable you are because you can't provide the Christmas that you want to for your kids, and you try as hard as you can. Maybe you don't have joy this time of the year because of all of its busyness, but the title says it all. This time of the year should be joy to the world because the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. And the title of this song is Joy to the World. But the truth is, you can have joy. And you are part of the world, and you should be able to receive this joy. We spoke a little bit on this a few weeks ago in our Thankful series. But joy is an interesting thing in that many people feel as though joy is dependent upon circumstance. And that joy is not really joy if it's dependent upon a circumstance. That would mean you could not rejoice when you are upset. That means you could not rejoice when you're angry. That means you could not rejoice when things aren't going perfect for you. That would mean the joy in your world would fluctuate. That means joy in the world would fluctuate. It would ebb and flow with the circumstances of our life. And for those of you that live your life that way, it's not very enjoyable or pleasurable, is it? I mean, if your joy is constantly ebbing and flowing with the way things go, that's not exciting at all. And the thing that we get caught up with is we think joy is the same as happiness, but it's not. Joy is not the same as happiness. Joy is not circumstantial. Joy is not external. Okay, happiness is based on external things. Joy is based on internal things. Joy is a position of the heart. Joy is a position of the spirit. It's not a position based on the circumstances or the environment that we're in. And the minute that we as Christians, or just we as people in general, allow joy to be affected by the things around us, we get to a place where it's simply dangerous. We get to a place where we are influenced by so many different things. And here's the other great thing we have to recognize. Because of the Christmas story, because of the story that we get so excited about this time of year, because of that, it promises us joy, meaning it's available to you, and you can have it, and I can have it. In fact, remember what the angel said? There has been joy with great news that will bring joy to the entire world. Now, here in Psalm 98, the author doesn't know that it's messianic, meaning that it's relating to or will be affected by the birth of Christ. To them, they are simply writing a praise song to the Lord. And it's specifically talking about praising God for the future deliverance of Israel, not recognizing that that deliverance would come not just to Israel, but to the entire world through the person and the messianic message of Jesus. But God was speaking this truth through the author and writing it down. So if you have your Bibles, I encourage you to turn to Psalm 98. We're going to start in verse 1, and we're going to see this song that eventually becomes joy, that acts as the inspiration for joy to the world. So starting in verse 1, a psalm: sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have worked salvation for him. The Lord has made his salvation known and revealed his righteousness to the nations. He will be remembered. He has remembered his love and faithfulness to Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of the Lord. Now the Hebrew meaning, okay, we got to do two things here. We've got to pay attention to the Hebrew and the Christological viewpoint. So the Hebrew meaning of this is that God has shown himself faithful to the nation of Israel many different times, which is absolutely true. Reading through the Old Testament, you can see God consistently showing his faithfulness to the nation of Israel. However, this side of the cross, this side of the resurrection, looking back onto this psalm now, we can see a Christological interpretation, which reminds us that Jesus provides salvation for everyone, that he provides salvation for everyone. And let me say it again in case we've forgotten. Jesus came for the Democrat and the Republican. He came for the black, the white, the Latino, the European, the Russian, the Ukrainian, the African, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Indian, the Native American, the Southern American, the Central American. Jesus came for the people you can't stand at work. Did you know Jesus came for the people that you really hate? Did you know Jesus came for your boss? Did you know Jesus came for the people that you work with that you can't stand? Did you know Jesus came for your mother-in-law? And he made salvation available to your father-in-law. That Jesus came for everybody. That it's a reminder, this part of the psalm is a reminder that he came for everyone. So the next time you get frustrated with somebody, and I know how hard this is, and I know that this is so tough, but next time you get frustrated with somebody, here's a practice you can do, okay? And this sounds so silly and rudimentary, but it's so valuable, and it definitely works. Next time you get hyped and frustrated and just about somebody, I want you to stop. And just take your second, get somewhere, go back to your desk, go to your room, I don't know, wherever you need to go. And I want you to sit back and just think this. And you can even say it out loud. And I do this, okay? Jesus died for them too. Just say it. When you say it, it disarms you. Jesus died for them too. Jesus died for them too. It reminds us that his salvation is made available to everyone. The psalm says that his right hand and his holy arm have worked salvation for him, which is true. It's available for everybody. Now we get to the good part, the part in the section where the author starts to explain this, and we go, okay, author, the psalmist, a question, okay, we hear you. Salvation is made available to everybody. We're there. I'm totally there. But how do we have joy? That's what I'm here for. I want to know the joy. I know how to have salvation. Yeah, I know salvation comes for everybody. But how do I have joy? How do I have joy? And he goes, oh, good. I'm so glad you're here. Glad you pay attention. Ready? Shout for joy. Shout for joy to the Lord. Right. Shout for joy to the Lord, all of the earth. Right, but I need to have joy. Right, so shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Burst into jubilant song and with music, and make music to the Lord with the harp, and with the harp and the sound of singing, and with trumpets and the blast of the ram's horn. Shout for joy before the Lord. The Lord is King. Okay, psalmist, my guy, come here. I need to know how to have joy. I need to know how to grasp it. I need to know how to take hold of joy. I don't need just the instruction on what to do. I get it. You want me to shout joyfully. I'm there. You want me, the whole earth, in fact, you want to sing because of God and because of Christ, which I'm there, I'm so there. I want to do that. You say to burst into jubilant song with music. I want to do that. I absolutely want to do that. Make music to the Lord with the harp. I don't have a harp, but if I did, I would want to do that. And I want to sing with trumpets, right? That sounds exciting. And the blast of a ram's horn. I don't know what that means, but I'm there. How do I have joy? How do I have joy? And then he says, let the sea resound and everything in it. What? No, I get that, but and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let the mountains sing together for joy. Let them sing before the Lord, for he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with equity. But how are we joyous? How do we receive joy? I get it. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. I'm there. How do I have that joy? I mean, what's it contingent upon? What does that do? How does that work? And what you find in this psalm, and if you read over and over again, there's no contingent upon shout for joy to the Lord. It's just do it. It's you just decide to do it. Let the sea resound and everyone and everything in it and everyone in the world. You just decide to do that. And here's what we fail to realize, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and we breezed over it. So we're going to go back, we're going to look at it again, we're going to stop for a second. And what we fail to realize is that joy is a choice. Joy is something you have to decide to do. It's something that you have to decide to interact with. It's something that you have to make sure that you want. Okay? That's why it's a decision. A lot of people think, whoa, Brandon, joy's not a decision. I have to have the right circumstances to be joyful. Well, if that's the case, why does James say, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of all kinds? The brother of Jesus, if it's totally based on your circumstances, why does he command people to follow or to consider it pure joy? Pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face any kinds of trials. If it was supposed to be based on your circumstances, then how could you have it? Joy is also a fruit of the Spirit. In Galatians 5, the apostle says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, goodness, faithfulness. See, when that happens, the outplay of those things, the outplay of joy, is going to be the outplay of having a relationship with God is choosing joy. Because it's a fruit of the Spirit. If the Spirit lives inside of you, then it's an outplay of it. It's not based on your circumstances. Because how would Paul write this to the church in Galatia if it was based upon your circumstances? How would that work? And the shepherds that the angels showed up and they said, I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all people. Well, if that's the case, then everybody's circumstances should change. If it's going to cause great joy for all people, then all of those people, their circumstances have to change. When Jesus is talking in John and he says, I told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Meaning Jesus is the completion of joy. That it can't be based on your circumstances. Or in Hebrews, when it says, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith, for the joy set before him. How can it be joy set before him when he was going to be crucified and killed for us so that we can have a relationship with the Father? How is that joy set before him if it's all based on circumstances and environment? It says, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame. Paul says it this way in Romans. He says, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. How can you be joyful in hope? Why would you need hope if joy is circumstantial? Because it's not. Joy is not circumstantial. Joy is a choice. It is a choice. Jesus never promised everything would work out for us. God never promised everything would work out for us. The angels didn't promise the shepherds everything's going to work out. That's exactly why you see all the scripture I just listed where it talks about joy. In all those separate areas that we just talked about joy, it's not, I repeat, it's not based on circumstances. It's not based on environment. Joy is a choice. That's why the psalmist says, shout for joy to the Lord. Shout for joy to the Lord. Just let it happen. Choose it. Make it a decision. You make a decision. You have to choose joy. It's not based on circumstance. It's not based on environment. Jesus never promised us that. In fact, he says that to follow him, you have to take up the cross And through the work on the cross, you and I have access to that great joy. We have the privilege, the opportunity to choose joy every single day. It's not dependent on anything, but we have to choose it. And if we ever stop choosing joy, you're giving space for the enemy to fill that void with something else. And again, the world is going to try to tell you, just like I talked about before, the world is going to try to tell you and sell you counterfeit joy. And then it's going to try to take your joy. And it's going to try to say that, well, you can't be joyful because of your economic situation. You can't be joyful. You can't be joyful because of your health situation. Come on, you can't be joyful because of your health. You can't be joyful because of your current job. I mean, come on, things are so bad between you and your husband. You can't be joyful. I mean, come on, you cannot be joyful. But the truth is, that's not what it means. And we've just seen that. That joy is a decision that we make every day. I will rejoice. I will rejoice. In fact, the church should be beacons of joy throughout the entire world. Not just here and there, not just thrown together, but in fact, beacons of joy for the entire world. And here's the truth of it. If we are truly filled with the Spirit, truly filled with the Spirit of God, then joy is a fruit of the Spirit. That if we are filled with the Spirit, then joy is a natural outplay of it. So, this week, in this season, this time of year, I want you to do that. I want you to choose joy. Make it a decision. I'm going to decide to be joyful. I'm going to decide to exist with joy. It's not going to be based on my circumstances. It's not going to be those things. And it's going to be even harder when you have a bad day. And it's going to be even more difficult the further you feel from God and the further you feel from your family and the further you feel from your husband, your kids. The more messed up your job feels, it's going to be harder to choose joy. But those are the moments in which you have to choose joy. Those are the moments in which we're expected to. And we have the capability because joy has come to the world. So, this week, choose joy. As we go, I would love to pray for you. Father, thank you for who you are. Thank you for the opportunity that we have to choose joy in you. Lord, I pray that you would help us and equip us and guide us and remind us that we are to choose joy. Help us be filled with the Spirit to where joy is an outplay in our life. We love you and we give you all the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.